All right, so example 4 in 1.1 talks about map scales. So scaling sometimes is a little bit tricky with maps. So like a scale of 1 to something, right? So if you think about a map is a small representation of something that's really large. So a map of the world, you'd have a small representation of the world that's really large. So in this question, a map of the state of Alaska has a scale of 1 to 4,750,000. Okay? So it's probably not that hard to figure out, which sort of number represents the distances on the map and which number represents the distances in the real Alaska, right? So that's the tricky part. Let me zoom in a little bit here on this. So 1 to 4 million. Right? 1 to 4 million. So obviously ratios like this have the same units. So if this is going to be 1 centimeter on the map, it's going to be 4 million centimeters in real life. So this is the map number and this is the real life number. Okay? So again, I'll read it again. A map of Alaska has a scale of 1 to 4,750,000. The distance on the map between Paxton and the Canadian border is 3 11/16 of an inch. What is the distance to the nearest mile? So in this example, this is a layered problem. It's a multi-step, a multi-layered problem. You're going to want to try and figure out what the actual distance that 3 11/16 of an inch on the map represent. And that's going to be in inches. That's what we'll find out, in inches. Then, secondarily, we're going to need to convert those inches to miles. And really, there's 3 parts of this question because 3 11/16 is a mixed fraction. So we either want to convert that to a decimal or to an improper fraction, right? So one of the two. So really, there's 3 parts. So I would suggest that we should work on this number first. Usually, improper fractions are, tougher to deal with. You want to change that to a mixed fraction. You want to change it to an improper or a decimal. And in this case, we're okay with working with decimals. That's totally fine. So on your calculator, you would do this how? How would you do this? 3 11/16 inches. You might have a fraction button on your calculator, so you can learn how to use that. On this one that I have on the screen here, it's not easy to do that, I don't think. But you might have like an A, kind of like a little A/B button or something like that. So you might be able to do that a bit easier. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this into 2 parts. If my calculator will work for me here. Okay. So I'm going to do 11 divided by 16. I'm just going to get that as a decimal. 0.6875. So guess what? 3 11/16 is the same as 3.6875. So this has a decimal. 3.6875. Okay? That's what this is as a decimal. So that's one way you can do that. So 3.6875, that's going to be inches. Now the conversion factor is up here, okay? And inches on the map and inches in real life is what this is. So if I have, 3.6875 inches on the map, I need to, am I going to multiply? Well, think about it this way. Remember the first layer of thinking? If you have a straight conversion factor, a straight number, do you want to multiply or divide by that number? So what do you think? Multiply to get a bigger number? Yeah, in real life, the inches are going to be bigger than 3 inches, right? In real life. Okay, so how would we do this unit analysis? This is what I would suggest. Inches map times, now the conversion factor is going to be inches map, inches in real life. Okay, because it's all inches, it's a little bit trickier with the unit analysis. But if you do it this way, then guess what? Inches in the map, or on the map, is 1. In real life, it's 4,750,000. So yes, we want to multiply by that conversion factor to get a bigger number. So what is that multiplication? So I'm going to multiply that by 4750000. 47500. Yeah. So that's 175 175, 15625. 15625. And so that, if you group those there, that's 17,515,625 inches. That's in real life. So that's not what the question asked, so we're not done, right? So that's a good first step. We've converted map inches to real inches. Awesome. Now we need to convert to the nearest mile. So do I know how many inches in a mile? Don't have that one on the top of my head. You might have that in your new conversion sheet. But let me just go over unit analysis again. You do have it? Inches and miles? Okay. Let's go over unit analysis because this is still something that we're learning here. So I would do this. This number in inches, and we're going to multiply by, I know what inches to yards. Do I know what inches to yards? Yeah, I do. Let's take inches to yards. Let's try that one. So there are 36 inches in 1 yard. Does that make sense? All right, so we're going to start there. I'm just going to make this a little bit. I'm going to move this a bit. I'm zoomed in right now too. That's part of my problem. Okay, let's zoom back out. Okay, that might be, is that a bit small for you? No? Let's try and halfway in between. Okay. All right, so I've got inches, I've got rid of inches, but do I want yards? Is that what I want? Oh no, I don't want yards, I want miles. So in unit analysis, you can do a series of multiplications. You can just keep going until you get rid of the units you don't want and end up with the units that you want. So here I want to get rid of yards. I don't want yards, but I want miles. And do I know the direct relationship between yards and miles?
Yeah.
Yes, you do. So there are, what was it, 1,760 yards in 1 mile, I believe?
Yeah.
Okay. So guess what? Now, using unit analysis, I am convinced that I am going to get my answer in miles. And I know exactly what to multiply and what to divide. I take this big number of 17 million inches, I multiply by 1 times 1, and then I divide by 36 times 1760. So this is what I have to figure out on my calculator. Divided by 6. Okay, and that's going to be in miles. So you can do this all in one step in your calculator. That's not a big deal. I'm going to use this answer. I'm not going to retype it. I'm going to use my answer function, which all of you have. That just takes the answer from the previous calculation, and boom, you don't have to retype it. You just put answer. And I'm going to divide by, and I'm going to put brackets around this multiplication here. So 36 times 1760. And that will be dividing by this product, which is exactly what I want. 276.446, it says round to the nearest mile, so 276 looks like. Okay, now that is an example in your textbook, so is that the number that they come up with? And they might do it a little bit differently, but let's just check. So here it is, example 4 in your textbook. And yeah, they leave this as an improper fraction and put that in their calculator. That's fine. They get this 17 million number that we got. That's awesome. And then they convert it to feet, and then they convert it to miles. See, we did unit analysis and did all of this. Like basically, we did all of this part right here in one step, one multiplication. It's easier. So unit analysis is great to get a handle on. And of course, 276 miles is the rounded sort of answer. Okay? So unit analysis with map scales. So map scales are something that you will use in math and science all over the place, so it's good to kind of have an idea. It's good to know what's the map and what's the real life, or what's the model and what's the real life, right? If it's a reduction, the first number, usually the 1, is going to be the well, if it's a reduction, the first number is going to be the model or the scale, and then the second number is going to be the real life, and then that one's always going to be bigger. And if it's an enlargement, the first number is going to be bigger, and the second number is going to be smaller. So the model is bigger than the real life, but that's coming later. That's more of a you'll learn that in science probably. Okay, so one more question I'm going to add here is 17 is just like this example we just did. So please add 17 to your assignment, and that's the full assignment. So it's going to be 1 or no, it's going to be 3, 7, 8, 12, 17.